Welcome to the Benben Show, everyone. I'm your host, Benben. But before we get started, let's have a word from one of our sponsors. Adderall. Because your children are just a little loud. Just if they were... It's better. Also by Beyond Raw Lit energy drinks. Great for when you're cycling off your Adderall as an adult. Because remember, Adderall, which is legalized meth, is okay. It's fine, especially for young people, children, minors, 5-year-olds. It's perfectly fine. But as an adult, you can't take it all the time because your body will get used to it and it won't work as well. So that's why I use Beyond Raw Lit when I'm cycling off and on. So tomorrow, my Adderall will work better. I hope everyone's having a good day, and I don't condone the use of drugs. That was a prescription bottle, and it was not for Adderall. In fact, it was for my allergy medication. I was just being dramatical for this. I saw CardiB had recently interviewed Joe Biden, and then Candace Owens, a conservative pundit, kind of commented on it and said she was being used, Cardi, as a puppet for the Democratic Party because of her popularity in the black community. Not just that though, and popularity in the middle America white community also. And I thought that's true. It's 100% true. There's no reason that's not true. That is unequivocally true because Cardi B didn't just call up Joe Biden like, "Hey Joe, I'm not doing anything. I really want to interview you. Because after all, that's what I do for a living. I don't make rap music. I'm not a former stripper that, now does rap pop, or some version thereof of commercialized music. I interview future presidential candidates. Oh my gosh. Fuck yeah. Oh, sorry. So I thought, yeah. Obviously, Joe called her. His people called her because, let's face it, she has a great inroads with the black community. She's a great inroads with 30% of middle white America. Millennials that are on the fence, millennials that like her music but aren't necessarily liberal, so it can convert some. The indifference therein kind of sways people towards not voting for Joe Biden but voting for who she likes. See this transference. It happens, it's derivative, and it's dangerous because it can create a demagogue, right? So it's also fair to criticize Cardi in this sense. It's absolutely, Candace is fine, she can criticize. But Candace also is a black conservative pundit whose rise to fame probably has something to do with her, she's attractive, and that she also is the antithesis to what the Democrats do, which is use black celebrities to gain favor, and especially in younger potential voting blocks. Candace is doing the exact same thing on the other side. It isn't to say that that's not untrue if she were truly honest with her, that's what she wanted to do for a living, right? Her vocation, her drive to do so. But her success might be partially due to the Mercer family and people like that who say, yeah, good-looking, model-esque, smart black woman who, has gotten better and better on TV. It's hard to determine someone's intelligence when they haven't had enough time behind the camera. Some of her interviews in the past, like the Joe Rogan interview, was not great. It suggested that she was not prepared and not ready for prime time. But she's gotten better. She almost talked over Ben Shapiro the other day. Just basically, when the interviewer talks more than the interviewee, that's a problem. But, she was on point and she was good at what she was doing. But yeah, this is it's a problem. It's a problem. Malcolm X talked about how white America uses black celebrities to gain favor in the community, not because they think it's the best way to reach people and talk about true goals and push their ideas onto them, not in a forceful way, but just to relate to them so they can listen. it's a propagate. It's to propagate. It's propaganda. It's designed to push and manipulate, and by association. Hey, you know what? I know you don't care about this election at all. I'm 77 years old, or however old Joe Biden is, but you like her. She likes me. Let me get your vote. Okay? Simple as that. And CardiB even said, she said, it's not a secret. I use my platform to encourage people to vote. I have millions of followers. I pay millions in taxes. I have the #1 song in this country. I have the #1 song in the United Kingdom. I have the #1 song in Australia. And I have the #1 song in New Zealand. You could, it's not unnecessary, but okay. Just like I can make millions of people pop their... You can make millions of people go vote. Or I can make millions of people go vote. She's right. It's not really a good way to defend yourself. The implication is that Candace is accurate in her criticism. Is like, yeah, I know. Joe Biden knows that. That's why he picked you. Interview me, Cardi. Of course, Joe Biden couldn't pick a Cardi B lyric out of his ass, but, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But, you know, this goes both ways. He's talking about Kanye West wearing a MAGA hat and being invited to the White House. Of course, that was Kanye's impetus. He wore the MAGA hat first. He talked about that first before the invite. And then it's like, oh, you're interested? Okay, sure, no problem. You know, it seemed more true and honest than Cardi B and Joe Biden. It's just such a rough mix. Now, if it was like Tony Braxton and Joe Biden, or Sidney Poitier, or Denzel, and you know what I mean? Something like, you know what I'm saying? They're not necessarily the same politics. I think Denzel is inherently libertarian, but it makes sense in terms of the age group. It's like it's such pandering. It really is. It's gross and grotesque in the manipulation, because it's not about like, we just want to let young people know about what we're doing. No, you want to trick them. Yeah, I mentioned Malcolm X. He's right. I mean, he talked about this on the Dick Cavett show in the 70s. He's absolutely right. It's a complete manipulation. But Candace Owens is also, her success is partially because she's black, and her unique take on liberal politics, on conservative politics, being an advocate of conservatism. That's an asset to the Republican Party, and a liability to the Democrats. And so the only thing that they can do is basically take her criticisms and revert back to her own position of success and I don't know, just her profession is, well, you're a pundit for the Republicans to convert black people to conservatism. It's the same thing. Go away. Okay. Oh, I made a fucking stylus. You know that thing you draw on a touchscreen computer? I made it out of aluminum and a Q-tip. It looks like something like a meth head on sabbatical would make. Where the fuck is it? Just think of it. Take a Q-tip, wrap aluminum around it, and then like wet the tip, and it works. It totally works. Saves you $20, or if you go to Apple to buy one, $100. It works. I don't know. Do what you want me to do. I was writing, it doesn't matter. I was equations, some finance math, and I noticed, oh, you know what? I was trying to basically combine spot rates and forward rates. Really not interesting, but bonds. Essentially, I was just like, I don't have this. I don't like using my finger. And it's just saves you money. Just create this thing and do it. You have to buy the aluminum. Okay, well, you probably have it in your house. Q-tips, you should have them. Although there's a lot of instances of people losing their hearing by being too aggressive with Q-tips, so be careful. Care about your hearing. My reason for talking today is not about CardiB and Candace Owens. It's not about Q-tips and aluminum. It's retarded. Who cares? It's not an interesting thing to make a podcast on your Labor Day Monday because it's Memorial Day. What's today? What holiday is it? It's Memorial Day, right? It's about the troops. Is it Veterans Day? It's Labor Day. It's Labor Day week. So my main reason for having the podcast today on this lovely, lovely, lovely Labor Day weekend on a Monday when no one's doing anything. Joe Rogan probably isn't interviewing anyone today, so you gotta get a one up on him. He's back on Spotify. I think there'll be a lull. There'll be a little lull where people are like, I don't really want to pay money per month to listen to Joe Rogan. That was the whole point. It's kind of like background, right? He says, he always criticizes interviewees when he's like, hey, this is like, they're like, well, how big was it? How big was the UFO? And they're like, it's like this. People listen to this asshole, like an orange? Yeah, like an orange. That guy though, the guy who keeps bringing on the UFO guy, he's not very smart. He's not a very intelligent person. He did the Skinwalker Ranch thing for Netflix. He doesn't sound like an intelligible person at all. It's interesting. He also doesn't enunciate. He doesn't define his pronouns. He like, and they said, and then Joe, who's they? Oh, I'm sorry, them. It's just like, dude, like, that's what he means. Like who? Oh, the NSA. Okay, thank you. All right, keep going. Now we know what you're talking about. And so I got the rocks from the crash site, the actual metamaterials, and I had them analyzed. Okay, and what did you find out? Well, my analysis machine wasn't good enough, so I'm TBD. So, guy's so funny. He's had him on a few times. I like him. Commander Fravor, smarter, more intelligible, definitely clearer thinking, linear line of thinking. Bob Lazar, linear line of thinking. Anyway, that guy's funny. It seems like a sweetheart. But why I want to talk today? I'm a huge tennis fan. I love tennis. I love tennis like Joe Rogan loves Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I don't know. I just do. And what I saw yesterday at the U.S. Open with Djokovic versus Carreño Busta had me thinking about the rules in tennis and like, was this accurate that he should have been? In case you don't know, the tennis matches are best of 7 games, and at 6-all it would go to a tiebreak in a set. Best of 5 sets overall, best of 7 per set, and so it was 5-6. Djokovic is serving down on serve though, so he could go to 6-all and go to the tiebreak. He lost, and then the set's over. And what he did is he, without looking, he hit the ball to the corner of the backcourt behind him, basically to the ball people, whoever, just so they can roll the balls and change, right? That's just what they do. They go finish the game, tiebreak's about to start, they sit down, a TV break, and so it's not his serve. He was the last person going in the tiebreak, so he's not serving anymore. So in the context of the game itself, of just process, he's getting rid of the balls in his possession. He doesn't look, he just hits the ball. It hits a woman, a line judge, in the throat, not the ball people, but the same area, and so he was disqualified for doing that. Now this is the rule. Players shall not violently, dangerously, or with anger hit or throw a tennis ball within the precincts of the tournament site, except in the reasonable pursuit of a point during a match, including warm-up. Violation of this section shall subject a player of a fine up to $20,000 for each violation, not a default. In addition, if such violation occurs during a match, including the warm-up, players will be penalized in accordance with the point penalty schedule herein set forth. For the purpose of this rule, abuse of balls is defined as intentionally hitting a ball out of the enclosure of the court, hitting a ball dangerously or recklessly within the court, or hitting a ball with negligent disregard of the consequences. He was upset, sure. You can't define his anger, it's subjective, but he clearly was upset, dejected. This is part Q, physical abuse. Players shall not at any time physically abuse any official, opponent, spectator, or other person within the precincts of the tournament. Violation of this subsection shall subject a player to a fine, again, up to $20,000 for each violation. In addition, if such a violation occurs during the match, the player shall be penalized in accordance with the point penalty system. Again, not default, not forfeiting the match. Hereinafter set forth. In circumstances that are flagrant and particularly injurious to the success of the tournament, or any singular egregious single violation of the section, shall also constitute the major offense of aggravated behavior, and shall be subject to penalties hereinafter set forth. For the purposes of this rule, physical abuse is the unauthorized touching of an official, opponent, or spectator of the person. point penalty schedule. This is how it goes. First offense, warning. Second offense, point penalty. Third and each subsequent offense, game penalty. However, after the third code violation, the referee in consultation with a grand slam chief of supervisors shall determine whether each subsequent offense shall constitute a default. None of this happened. In cases of particularly egregious offense, tournament referee may choose to default the player. Section T of the code. This is a judgment call. Number one player in the world, not looking, hits the ball to the area where he would normally disperse of the balls after finishing his service, losing service, whatever, change of service. Hits a woman, linesperson, in the throat. Kind of her job of watching where the balls are anyway. It's literally her job. She was not prepared, hits her in the throat. Djokovic loses the match by default. I am not a Djokovic fan. I'm a Federer fan. I admire Djokovic. I think he's probably the greatest baseliner of all time. I think it's very unfortunate that the decision was made for him to basically force forfeit, or be defaulted. Recently, he'd come out in criticism of the ITF and the ATP and how they treat their players, the handling of revenue, marketing, interviews, timing structures, play clocks. He was critical of a lot of elements of the game. Never mind the way players are, fined and stuff like that. He's mentioned in the past. He thought about proposing a new league called the PTPA, and I think that was very alarming that he mentioned a competitive league coming up to the tournament to rival the ATP, which is a sponsor of the US Open. And then he's defaulted during a match sponsored by the opposing governing body that he wants to create a separate governing body to compete against and perhaps take over and replace. And he's defaulted for something that's a subjective decision, capricious, arbitrary, without malicious intent, because he didn't care about the line judges, didn't bother him the whole match. It was incidental. Shapovalov slammed the ball. I guess he was trying to hit it into the stands, and so that wouldn't hurt anyone because of the velocity of the ball going up, right? And it hits someone in the stands. It loses its efficacy, right? But it hit the umpire in the chair directly in the eye. Could have lost his eyesight. He was defaulted. That makes sense. Djokovic is within the court, hitting the ball to the back of the court. The back. Outside, this is like 15, 20 feet. It's an unfortunate situation. It makes me wonder if the ball had bounced and it hit her in the throat, is he defaulted? Because it went in a straight line? Because he had lost serve. He lost the set. He was broken. I don't know, man. I think that's very unfortunate, and he's the last stalwart in that match of the big three. It's bizarre. Everything about that match is bizarre. From the tournament itself, the courts are faster now than they've been in like 15, 20 years. Some people have said that they kept the courts slow for a long time to appease the older players, keep them playing, which might be at the detriment of younger players because they would think that swing weights, rackets that weigh less or have a swing weight ratio, where the static weight is somewhat relevant, but the swing weight itself is lower, might make it appear as though that's effectual, but might hurt their progress against older players who played on very fast courts in the past. It seemed like almost like this is a tournament where they decided this is a changing of the guard, and I don't know. I didn't care for it. No one seemed to care about the mask policy right after the point. He was touching the linesperson, apology on putting his hand on their shoulder, shaking hands with the officials. He was very cordial about the situation afterwards, saying he's very, very sorry. He really apologized. He didn't try to defend himself for his actions whatsoever. And why would you? In the end, I don't think there's a way to appeal. I tweeted him, I Instagrammed him saying you should appeal, but I'm not sure that's even viable. And it really made me upset. 'Cause, like, this is unprecedented. Windows are open to the cats, so sorry, fly. It's an unprecedented situation in our country with COVID, and sport is a way to take our minds off of the incredible social restrictions that we have and kind of enjoy our lives to some degree. And to have this kind of austerity, incidentally, it kind of evokes the same kind of status quo we have. Wear your mask, stay away from people. It was very oppressive, and I thought the ruling was rather strict and austere, and it bothers me. It really does. As a tennis fan, it bothers me a lot. Objectively, it bothers me because it's within the context of the gameplay. Yes, the point is over, but the match is ongoing. You disperse the balls in your pocket because you're not serving. No professional tennis player keeps balls in his pocket when he's playing against his opponent. That's not the way it works. You always give them back. They rotate the balls. You get new balls every 3 games. Federer always changes rackets right the game before the ball change. These are things that happen. He gets ejected, hits the ball hard to the corner. He's not trying to hit anyone. He's not trying to hurt anyone. He's not trying to. Well, I don't even think he was trying to show I'm going to hit an egregiously hard ball. I don't even think it was. I think the situation is ridiculous. And you're trying to go into the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam when you were in the race to win, surpass Nadal and Federer. It would be his 18th or 19th. God, I could talk about it all day. It becomes redundant. It just really, really bothers me. And that's, I guess that's all I can really say about it. There's a lot of people that have opinions about Djokovic who don't like him or do, and they take sides based on that. I'm not that person. I think it's bad for tennis. The ruling, I think it almost looks mafioso-like given his stance against the ATP, and I don't know. Should we change subjects? It's just disheartening. It hurts my feelings. It makes me sad. As we look into the shrinking the gender pay gap, I think it's important to note transsexual prostitutes get paid on average less than their biologically female, if that's even a real thing, biological sex. Constituents. That is to say that human entities born with female genitalia, biological, standard, esoteric female genitalia, are paid more on average per sex act than their transsexual prostitute constituents, brothers and sisters, depending on whether they've transitioned boy to girl, girl to boy. This is the fault of white men like myself, value finders like myself who like to save money on blowjobs, and just discounting their services when a blowjob, a mouth to mouth, it's just as good. I think that's wrong, and I think it needs to stop, and we need to do something about that. Let's see. Oh, I saw this on Twitter today. Gender reveal pyrotechnics in Northern California. California. Go down to the 405 and take it down to Marina Del Rey. Get out of here, Kevin. Ew, man. We go to Coachella. Gender reveal pyrotechnics in Northern California started a wildfire. Fucking white people. If there's anything more white than that, it's got to be that. It's hilarious. I don't know. The whole thing's hilarious. I don't know. What else should we talk about? Anyone multiply matrices, transpose them by hand? It's a nightmare. Take the adjoint of the transpose. Oh my God, I was doing that the other day. It was a nightmare. I don't know why no one does that. There's so many of these little elements of finance that like you don't actually do. It's like for school, like finding the APV of a security against like taking weights and marketing discount factors. Like there's a lot of theory that is just not applicable. Warren Buffett doesn't actually use he's never looked at a spreadsheet in his life and oh, that's the discount rate. Oh, let me associate it with that. He doesn't use the CAPM. He doesn't use the weighted average cost of capital. These are ways of taking rates, like the 10-year bond, subtracting that from the inflation rate, and then subtracting that from the expected return of the market or from your security. And then you take that and you find your equity, cost of equity, and then you take your debt over the total amount of the company's value, and you multiply that by the interest you pay on your debt, and then multiply that by 1 minus the tax rate. These are and then you can take a weight of that, you multiply that by a beta, and you can have an unlevered version or a levered version. These are all ridiculously silly things that, interest is tax deductible. There's these problems, and I think when you go back and you look at a master's in business administration or a finance class, I don't know, international financials, my undergraduate, my MBA. Looking back, there's some bond work and stuff like that I've done recently, and it's I never did fixed income before, and it's just you just realize it's just there's so much theory, and it makes you wonder what is the point of guessing other than value investing. It's coming up with there's two things you can do to study and to really make an advance as a PhD or someone in finance. That is, create an algorithm program that could be implemented at the hedge fund level, like Renaissance or something like that, for quantitative trading. There's that. And then there's really nothing. There's nothing else you can do. You can just be good at analyzing individual cash flows, so I guess, like predicting, being a specialist in an area like pharmaceuticals, knowing you'll have some sort of edge by understanding pharmaceutical investing or product investing against market competition. But I don't know. It's I don't know. It's such a funny thing when someone like Elon Musk talks about he doesn't want to hire people with MBAs because they'll just ruin the business, and you don't need an MBA at all to start a business. In fact, to be rich, to start your own, it makes sense to start your own business, not guess where stock prices are going. You get paid to do that, save the money, get your money per year, and then start your own business. It's more interesting. Way more likely to be successful that way, just from a tax advantage and a variety of other aspects. And then there's the passive income of having people work under you, and just a freedom to think. This sort of neuroplasticity of thinking outside the box is way easier at the executive level. And Jeff Bezos says that you only have to think of 2 or 3 things a day, decisions you make as an executive. I think it's apropos. I think it's quite apropos. I think it's I think young people who do my prep school, my graduate school, the amount of work that you do, it leaves little to the imagination in terms of puttering and just sitting back and thinking. And like when Einstein was a patent clerk, all the ideas, he had time to think of, think. And a felon in prison recently solved, I think, was it some of Euclid's math problems? Was it Euclid? That were unsolved. He just had all the time in the world just to think and sit there. But our society doesn't allow for that. It doesn't allow for you, like, gotta have a job, gotta do it. And it's like, it definitely calcifies over parts of your brain, I think, that enable like abstract thinking. Abstract thinking requires craziness, a lot of trial and error, a lot of like the rigidity isn't there. There's discipline to think, but like there's this passion that's you have a finite amount of energy. You can't really work 10 hours a day and like solve complex math problems on the side at the highest rate, in other words, of success or of accomplishment. You imagine that you put like chaos theory math at the end of the day. It's crazy. You can't do that. I know that I'm like going off topic, but we're not really talking about anything. We're just talking about transsexual prostitutes. Now we're talking about, I don't know, just like what, I don't know, I guess we're talking about like theory in terms of like how to live your life and like maximize your productivity, especially if you're interested in really strange things. I love writing. I love writing screenplays and movies, and I love doing complex math, really, graduate level math, and above that, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it, post-grad math. It's like Markov model, revert. It's very, very fun. No one does it. You can get paid millions of dollars a year on Wall Street, not knowing what the fuck I'm talking about. You have some idea of it, but like it's like there's no reason. You don't have to do that. There's no reason to do that. You can just take interest rate spreads on like deals and stuff like that, be an investment banker, and like bring money together, right? There's no reason to do that. But I don't know. I think in life, when you find something that like you'd hate yourself if you didn't do it. Christopher Hitchens, the former editor of Vanity Fair, used to say like, I love writing. It's like writing, my children, and everything else. My wife, I guess maybe, it's probably his wife's like third. Carol Blue. He likes brunettes like I like brunettes. He died of throat cancer, I think 2010, 11, somewhere around there. And he said that, and I think this is fundamentally true, when you figure out what you want to do, and there could be more than one thing, which also is frustrating because you specialize in multiple things, you don't necessarily become the best at that one thing. Like to become like the number one alpha, it's almost like devoting your entire life to one thing. I don't think I think you can do two. You can Elon Musk it, maybe. You just have to have a system of like, I don't know, of like time, basically to maximize your time. You have to have like a way of kind of cross, like where like Tesla and SpaceX, you can kind of like apply his brain to both at the same time in some respects. Certainly in terms of capital raise to the stock, he's very good at that, and you can kind of apply that the same way for both when you're thinking about one, like, oh, we do that for space, So yeah, but he said like you find something that on the days you don't want to do it, whether you're Christopher Nolan directing or you're I don't know, you're Bill Ackman at Pershing Square, you feel compelled to do it. Like you would hate yourself if you didn't. You have to do it. Because no matter what you like in life, what you really are passionate about, there'll be days you don't want to do it. And on those days, you do it anyway. You're probably on the right path, like where you should be. All right. Have a great day, everyone. By the way, I really like Borelli shirts. They're Italian shirt, like fine shirt maker. Love them. Though I will say there's something about like this, it's like paper, in a second, it's wrinkled, it's over. This is like how fine and nice it is, but it's like, I've had other shirts like by like C. Masura by Zania, custom shirt maker, and Dan in Milan, for all you snobby people. Like very, very nice shirts. They're a shop, I think they have more than one, but the one in Rome is by the Piazza de España. Great shirt maker. Borelli's probably the best value, because who wants to spend $500 per shirt? I went to the guy in New York that made custom shirts. He said to me, I was getting custom shirts made. I'm like, I kind of don't want it to be boxy. He's like, what does it matter? It's going to be under your suit jacket. And I'm like, why am I here if I don't get to have it the way I want it? You know, so but they're very accommodating. Their fits are excellent for their off the rack, and they have custom wear tailoring that's pretty excellent. They can even do it virtually. I don't mean like some sort of cookie cutter thing. It's like you go online. They have a way of seeing you wear the shirt. They have you turn certain ways and like take a couple measurements and watch you do it to make sure you don't mess up, and they can like adjust accordingly for you. It's excellent. I've done it before. There's nothing worse than having unfitting. The only reason I don't eat like a slob every single day is I don't want my pants to just rip apart my stomach at work or something like that, or like on an airplane wearing a suit and you just like it's all tight. Oh my God, I can't stand that. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great Labor Day, whatever today is. All right, bye.